Can you tell me how the Vortex Water Revitalizer works?
Yeah, it's quite an evolutionary concept in actual fact. What happens with the Vortex Water Revitalizer is within the system itself there are two vortices created going around each other, which are then forced together to create an implosion in the middle. In that implosion we get a high-speed vortex created which contains centrifugal and centripetal forces on the water molecules themselves. In that process, the water molecules are pulled apart so that heavier elements are stripped out and lighter elements are stripped out in the opposite direction, taking things like chlorine, oxygen, heavy metals, limescale and other things that are dissolved in the water out of dissolution in that moment. The water molecules themselves, which traditionally coming through the pipes are in large clusters, are pulled apart into microclusters, so there'd just be a few water molecules joined together instead of hundreds of water molecules joined together. And all of these things combined together mean that the water is softened instantly within that implosion process. The heavy metals are pulled out and form their own microclusters to take them out of dissolution. The gases such as chlorine and oxygen are also taken out of dissolution, so that overall, all of these things now flow through the pipe separated in a way that allows them to the water itself to operate more effectively on your body and in the environment, and all of the other pollutants that are in there are now separated out completely and no longer able to actually be absorbed by the body in the way they normally were. Your domestic appliances will now no longer build up limescale in the way they would have done because the water has naturally been softened. They will tend to last longer. Things like rust on metal parts in your washing machine, dishwasher and things like that is virtually eliminated because the chlorine and other pollutants that cause rust have now been evaporated off much more efficiently. So the overall process of this vortex is to separate all these different elements and different molecules into their separate parts, allowing the water to then flow through much more cleanly. We've seen this process in other domestic appliances as well. For example, in modern vacuum cleaners, bagless vacuum cleaners, they use a vortex to separate dust particles from air particles. Using exactly the same process, they then separate them out. And that process was taken from the industrial setting where sawmills would have a lot of sawdust in the air, and large vortex scrubbers were used to separate sawdust from the air, so the air was then clean for the people to work in and the sawdust was separated off. And that's obviously where that originally came from. And even in nature we see it within tornadoes, for example. A tornado is a very, very fast spinning vortex of air, and we can see just how easily it will rip apart a house and rip apart trees in its path. That's the power that happens in a vortex in terms of the centrifugal, centripetal forces that are happening and pull all of these things apart. Well, the same thing is happening in this micro vortex inside the Vortex Water Revitalizer, pulling apart all of these different elements to form soft, revitalized water.
So it's actually creating harmony from chaos.
In a way, yes, because when water is pumped into your home, it has been pumped usually for miles from a processing station. In that processing station, it's been forced through sediment beds, it's been forced through filtration systems, it's had chemicals added, it's then forced through turbines under pressure into pipes and forced down your city streets across country to your home. And throughout all of that process, the water is deadened in many respects, because the molecules, instead of being loose and free like they are in a mountain stream, for example, they're forced together under pressure to get them into your home with all these chemicals and the chalk and the limescale and everything added to that. Whereas, and when it gets to your home, it's pretty unpalatable at that point. You get a child, try and get a child to drink glasses of water that's straight out of the tap. Mostly, unless they're really thirsty, they don't want to drink it. But with revitalized water, because you've now got that life back into the water, you've restructured the molecular structure of the water, you've taken those big clusters of water which have got limescale and heavy metals and chlorine and other things dissolved into it and stripped it all apart. It tastes better, Children enjoy it, adults enjoy it. Everybody who's tried this water can really taste the difference.
And what about for animals?
Well, animals, they're even more obvious how much they prefer it. If you've got fish, for example, you will see how much they enjoy swimming. They will get more life in them through being put into revitalized water. Pets like cats and dogs will tend to drink more. They will enjoy the experience more, and generally they're more lively as a result of drinking revitalized water. In fact, let me give you one example of this. We sent a unit to Belgium for a family over there, and they used to like to keep their cat clean, and they had to fight with the cat to get it to have a shower, which, you know, most people who've got a cat will know cats don't like to have showers, generally speaking. Once they put the revitalizer system in and the water coming out of the shower was revitalized, the cat actually enjoyed having a shower. They didn't have to fight with the cat at all, and the cat's coat and everything felt much softer as a result.
Wow, fantastic.
Thank you.